Welcome to the Planning Commission meeting tonight. And got a few things on the agenda to cover, but before we get started, I just want to have offer under the thought or invocation, and then we'll be followed by Commissioner Neighbor doing the pledge, leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So on the thought, we were just talking about it up here offline, but Joyce had asked me to maybe say a thought about a recent adventure that I did in Europe, where I walked the Camino de Santiago. And it was about a 175-mile walk. And over a little over 2 weeks, we covered that. And it was just, I guess, I've done a lot of travel in my life, but this was really truly the adventure of a lifetime. And unlike anything I've done before, just walking through these villages and towns and, many churches from the 1400s and 1500s, very spiritual adventure as well. And, just having so little to carry, makes you realize that you really don't need a whole lot, to survive and be happy. And it kind of brings a different perspective to that kind of travel. And just walking through so slowly and seeing the details of a country was really fascinating, and sort of enriches you in some way. And so I guess I just wanted to put a plug in for that, and just to say something like, I know that it's made me in the next several years just think about prioritizing travel, and not just travel like I've done before, like go there for a week and hit the tourist hotspots, but really take some extra time and experience a country in a different way. And so I think travel is one of those things that enriches us more than maybe material things do.
Yeah.
So that's my thought for the night.
Very
I'll
nice.
stop talking about the community.
Very nice.
Thanks.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think we have everyone with us tonight except Commissioner Webb, who is excused, and I believe Commissioner Bailey will come a few minutes late. So the first thing we're going to cover is the consideration and action to approve the June 18th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting minutes. Did everybody have a chance to take a look at those? And were there any changes?
I'd like to make a motion to approve those.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those are approved. Does anybody have any ex parte communications or conflicts of interest to disclose? Well, let's move on before we get into the administrative items, because we do have some members of the public here. I wanted to just read about some of the meeting protocol. So time is made available for anyone in the audience to address the commission concerning matters pertaining to city business. Citizens will be asked to limit their remarks or questions to 5 minutes each. Any materials that are displayed or referenced, such as pictures or written materials, are part of the record and must be left with the commission. Speakers are required to have sign-in at the door and will state their name and city that they reside in before beginning their remarks. If you agree with the previous speakers, state your agreement to avoid repetitious remarks. Speakers shall address the commission from the podium or microphone and shall address all comments to the Planning Commission. So the first item we're going to cover, well, before I do that, are there any public comments for items that are not on the agenda tonight? The first item then under administrative items is consideration and action regarding an administrative application. This is a preliminary plat approval of the Mickelson subdivision, which is 3-lot, located at approximately 2749 North, 850 East. And the presenter tonight is Ryan Nunn.
Thank you, Commissioner Mancaro. So yes, this subdivision, it's a preliminary plat. It is only 3 lots, which normally is just a minor subdivision. The reason it's being considered for the preliminary plat and coming before the planning commission is our city engineer in his review uh decided or agreed that we needed to get road dedication of 850 East from an existing lot and then the proposed lot. And this would allow for that road as well as sidewalk to eventually be able to go in here. So as a little bit of the background, the lot currently as it currently sits, it's 2 lots with 2 homes. There's one on the corner and then there's an interior lot on 2750. With their subdivision, they'll be moving property lines and then creating the additional lot, which is lot 2, an interior lot on 850 East. There was no TRC held due to the simplicity of the application. But we do have our city engineer memo. And then with any subdivision, we do consider road dedication and the installation of sidewalk. Our city engineer, Eric Casperson, has worked with the applicant's engineer on finding the appropriate amount of dedication at this time. And then lot 2 would require sidewalk to be installed. Our code does allow for a deferral of sidewalk, but that would be a city council decision. So at this time, staff, we recommend an approval of the subdivision to create the new lot and to accept that additional road dedication for the city. And I can answer any questions, and then we do have our applicant here as well. Yes.
I have a question, in front of lot 1 on 850, what's the total right of way that we will end up getting? Or, yeah,
I believe so. I know on the plat it's saying that on lot 1 there's about 5 feet or a little over 5.5 feet being dedicated.
but what does that make the total right of way on that street? And what's our minimum that's required?
We do have the 66-foot roadway, public right of way. I
2750 is 66, but 850.
Right. If you look kind of on the plat, if you scroll down, John, it does show that there's a 50-foot.
But not in front of lot 1.
Correct.
That's what I was asking about.
Correct. And so, working with our city engineer, the 5 feet would just allow for a sidewalk potentially to go in there. I don't know if that meets our full right-of-way dedication. But our city engineer did work with theirs on what can be dedicated and what would be
I know
sufficient.
the setback to that home is going to be a non-conforming
Correct, yeah.
because of that. But just wondering if additional right-of-way would ever be needed in the future.
I think potentially, I know, especially on this corner, for lot 2, I think we'll have the full, what we'll need, but yeah, it does become narrow as it meets the intersection of 2750.
The new sidewalk, it says new sidewalk is required to be installed on lot 2, but that's something that's already going to be presented to the city council for deferment, or what is the applicant asking?
I've not helped with that process before, I believe, but it's something that we've informed them of and recommended. Our code that allows for this deferment, one of the standards or one of the requirements is there's not another sidewalk within like 100 feet. And there's no sidewalk on 850 or on the south side of 2750. And
So why would we defer it rather than require?
because the other two lots are existing, they don't need to have the sidewalk installed. It would just be on lot 2, and having the sidewalk to nowhere.
Because it doesn't continue on south.
Right.
so I
And
understand. Yeah.
and but that is up to the city council. Maybe
Yeah,
you
I mean, it's
maybe-
an established neighborhood with houses already there. so-
right.
And then just to further clarify, when you say deferred, does that mean that the owners of this lot would have the financial cost of putting it in once other sidewalks built, or is it just defers back to the city eventually to be done?
Yeah, I wish Eric Casperson is here, but if I remember right, they do escrow
But-
for the cost, but it's or yeah, John could probably.
It depends on the way the council does it. Typically, what they do is they include some sort of note on the plat that says, if the city council ever does a sidewalk improvement district, then they will sign, the existing owner basically is waiving their right to oppose that. Or sometimes they have required an escrow, but usually it's some sort of a note or a filed document against the property that says, hey, if the city ever comes and says we want sidewalk, then the current owner has to put it in. Yeah,
I can remember a case that came up years later.
yeah. My dad did that in the 90s for his house in Plain City, and it's been 30 years and still no sidewalk. So,
Okay.
We're in North Ogden.
yeah.
Does anybody else have any other questions? If not, we'll ask the applicant is the applicant here tonight? Would you mind joining us at the podium and?
Kevin and Sandy Mickelson, 837 East, 2750 North. And my wife has been designated as the trustee of the property. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get our realtor with us, who has a little bit more understanding of the technical jargon that comes with all of this, and just trying to make things work. And it's been a long process. We started last about July or August, and we're still in the process. So
You live in which house on lot 1?
We're lot 3.
lot 3. So the passing was of my mother in August of 2023. Everything deferred to my wife, and so what we're going to do is go ahead and capture all the property that's around our home, so we have access to our garage on the west side, and then with her responsibility of making most of the land, that's why we have lot 2, and that's what my son is going to plan on buying in the future. So he has a place to stay.
So
It's not a hard.
So he can take care of mom and dad, because this is what we did for my mom and dad. Little did we know that back in 1993, when we first built our house, that we'd be coming to this kind of an intersection. But here we are.
Is lot 2 an awkward size, do you think? Is that too small?
It's small, but it's within,
The
it's
parameters.
within the zone.
It
Yeah.
It's 9,000
There's lots of
square
9.
feet.
I mean,
Is
most
that
of the old homes around are on 8,000,
Oh, okay.
In there.
8 to 10.
That's R18, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
I think it is. Anybody have any other questions for the applicant?
One question, the utilities to service all 3 lots, are they all within each lot? In
Yes.
other words, they don't go across other lots to serve.
The only one that I think that we have to consider is Pine View, because when mom and dad's house was built around the turn of the century, and when Pine View was stubbed in, it is on the north side of lot 1, and it's just on that side of the property line, on their side of the property line. But that water has been used to facilitate all of that pasture land, which used to contain horses and cows and chickens and all that stuff. And so we're going to have to get with Pine View to go ahead and figure out how we're going to make that work.
And maybe just on the plat show some easements, public utility easements that can cover those lines that are out there.
Don't we already have that with that meter that's there or that they're on lot 2 that I asked you about?
Yeah,
So, so yeah, I think if I'm understanding you right, the Pineview line is in this area. Right here at the
Right
at this.
up.
Oh, it's at the north end of the lot.
Yeah,
So yeah, in theory, if it's out here,
it's over in the northwest corner.
About that.
It's, yeah,
Okay.
it's over there.
so I think, so what Commissioner Gardner is saying is if the Pineview line ends up running down this property line to access, get down to lot 2, then we'll just need to, before we record it, include an easement for that Pineview line. Otherwise, you'd be required to run it around in the public utility easement all the way down. And that's not what anybody.
Oh,
wants to
okay.
do.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Actually, what my dad had done is stubbed a line from that main connection and he's used that. So we can actually disconnect that and that can still facilitate lot 1. And then we, as at 837 East, when we incorporate all the rest of that land, we would use our Pineview to go ahead and take care of all of lot 3.
Yeah, so it's just Pineview will want 3 different meter pits on this subdivision. And so wherever those main lines go to the meter pit, we just need to make sure that there's an easement for those. Because Pineview needs to be able to get in and keep the main line
Yeah, I'm just
going.
wondering if there's already one that's sitting on lot 2.
That is
Ryan, did you see that that was over there?
The water meter. That's
Was
the
it-
meter.
Oh, that's just a regular water meter. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there's a meter there.
Yeah, so there is already one for lot 1 and lot 3. They would just have to create one for lot 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so however they get that water line down to lot 2, there'll need to be an easement for that so that, because
Yeah.
when Pineview comes in to repair it in 30 years, they need to know they have the right to be there.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's not a big deal. It's something we can work with the surveyor just to identify where it's going to go after you talk to Pineview.
Okay. Is there a line that goes all the way on the west side of 850 East where they can go ahead and plumb that in?
I don't know. Some of these older homes, it's in the backyards. So on 850 East, it might be in the backyards of those homes
Oh,
as opposed to the front yards.
Pipe view that they would go off of 850.
oh, I'd have to check. But it's something, once this preliminary approval is received, we can work that out on the final plat before you get the Mylar printed and everything. We can work out if there is an easement needed on, between lots for any of those lines, yeah.
okay.
Do we need to include that in a motion to address any needed easement for Pineview water line to lot 2 in the final plat? Or,
Yeah, I think that'd be appropriate.
That's generally what would happen.
Mhm.
any other questions? Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Any discussion, motion? Looks pretty straightforward.
Agree. So hearing no discussion, I would move that we grant preliminary plat approval of the, is it Michelson subdivision, 3 lots located approximately 2749 North, 850 East, subject to the staff report, engineering report, and adding easement for water lines if needed.
Yeah, do you want to say secondary water lines? Or does it matter?
Secondary
Yeah.
water line.
Yeah.
So I amend my motion to include the word secondary water line.
Can we amend it one more further?
We can discuss and
Just call it a public utility easement.
okay.
And that way it will cover any kind of utilities that may need to go there.
Okay, so then I withdraw the first motion and we're just gonna do a different one. So I move that we grant preliminary plat approval of the Michelson subdivision, 3 lots located approximately 2749 North, 850 East, subject to the staff report, engineering report, and adding easement for public utilities as needed.
It's good.
I would second that. Oh, or do we have to have discussion?
No, we
Good.
kind of did.
We did,
yeah.
but okay.
Any further discussion before we vote? Well, let's go ahead and take a vote. Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner,
Yes.
Commissioner Neighbor,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So that will go through unanimously with that one addition. Thank you very much. So let's move on to the next administrative item. And this is consideration and action regarding an administrative application, a site plan approval for a parking lot expansion located at approximately 1893 North and 400 East, and the presenter is Ryan Nunn.
Thank you. So this site plan review is for the existing business and property where Big O Tires is located. They're looking to do a parking lot expansion. Recently there was a zoning text amendment that was approved where language is edited to allow drive aisles to be within the 20 feet of Washington. Or 14 feet from top back of curb or the property line. So which allows their plan to increase parking lot in that direction. With any site plan, it opens up the property to our code, essentially. A lot of, in this case, being our commercial code, our parking code, and our public works standards. So a lot of my comments, I expect there'll be a bit of a discussion because there are some existing conditions that do need to be considered to be brought up to standard. Or I know there's been requests on whether it can remain as is since it's been there, it's existed for so long. So right away, the use, the tire sales is a permitted use in our commercial Southtown zone. The site itself, it's meeting its building lot coverage, its landscape coverage, as shown on this C2 page. So a few things that we don't have we don't have like a landscape plan proposed with the site plan to show what improvements to, water-wise landscaping or what plants potentially will go in. I think what exists there currently is just grass. But with site plans, we do require landscape plans to be included as well. In our city code, as part of the architecture or the site amenities, being on Washington, we do have those site amenities on Washington, and there are two of our city's decorative lights. So we do, with the frontage of the property being around 203 feet, that would be one for every 50 feet. We do think the two decorative lights should count. And so potentially there would be two more site amenities considered all along Washington. With exterior lighting and parking lot light, our code doesn't explicitly say there's parking lot like light poles required, but that in the case they are there, we do have code that specifies their lighting and everything. And so we do, I recommended we have light poles included, but that can be considered by Planning Commission, whether we want to require those to be included because they're not shown on the plans. Additionally, the location of the trash enclosure should be shown, and whether that should be brought up to the conditions in our plans where it's enclosed on the appropriate hard surfaces. Those plans weren't included, but we recommend to have those as part of a building permit. there's been a use of storage containers on the property. Our code does not allow the use of storage containers for long-term use. Um, from what we're aware of, they've been used for the entirety of the business since it was started. So we did recommend that those should be removed, but if Planning Commission wanted to consider, since they've been in a use for so long, that they can remain on the property for the business's use.
And Ryan, just while we're on that topic,
Yeah.
we do have some businesses that have used storage containers in commercial zones, but they've integrated them into the site, so it doesn't look like a portable storage container. It's painted or faced in a way that blends in better. So, as an option.
Yes, that's a good point of, it has been allowed in other uses where they've integrated it. So that would be worth considering. In our public works standards, we do have the 10-foot sidewalk requirement in there. So we do recommend having that be included as well on the site plan. Just south of the Big O Tires is a car wash use, and there has been the installation of that 10-foot sidewalk there, and this would just conform and make it more uniform up to the intersection of 1900. But that is also something that we've deferred in other parts on Washington. If Planning Commission want to discuss whether to require that 10 feet or to leave it as the 5 feet, I think that is there currently. For our parking lot requirements, it is meeting the number of parking lots needed for the usable square footage. We do have parking lot landscaping requirements, which include a landscaped a landscape island every 10 parking spots, as well as screening on any public streets. So in this case, it would be on 1900 and Washington, some type of like berm, or building the land up, or in other areas we've counted the plants as counting towards that screening. So this is page 9 of 11, John, if you want. Yeah. So we recommend to include in that landscape plan to show those landscape islands, as well as the screening to be included. But again, the Planning Commission could discuss whether this should be a requirement, since this business has been here so long, and its existing landscape without those screenings and without those islands has been there so long.
Ryan, if I can jump in. So,
Please.
Commission, if you look at the site plan and you start counting spaces and thinking, okay, there needs to be a landscape thing, then if you count like 10 spaces up here, I think there's 11, so you lose the last space to landscaping, which may not make much sense. And I think down here at 12. And so with those considerations about it being an existing business, you may say, well, if we're looking at everything, the 10-foot sidewalk may be more important than the landscape buffers in the parking lot, and to kind of massage the site plan to accommodate the goals of the city that the Planning Commission thinks is most important, as opposed to making sure that every single provision is black and white letter of the law.
Yeah, thank you, John. With that, under the conformance of the general plan, I felt like it's goal 3 for the Southtown area was most applicable, and particularly the strategy, the last bullet point, which is to maintain existing landmark businesses, which Big O Tires has been. And so that's why, I've recommended conditions of approval, but that there should be that discussion and consideration on what do we want to require to keep the business here, but then also to meet some of those standards we have in our code. I'm happy to answer any of and clarify anything, and we do have our applicant here as well.
If I recall, when we looked at this once before, but I couldn't tell you if it was a year ago or 6 months ago, but it seemed like the whole reason for this redesign was because this business is very successful and they needed more parking on site. And so we looked at, you know, can you go north a little in the property that you have? Can you do something towards Washington Boulevard to sort of squeeze in some additional spaces? I don't think it's ever been an issue with this business that it's been an eyesore because of a container storage in the back or anything like that. I'm trying to picture it as I go past, but it doesn't stick out at me as, you know, that it has a whole lot of landscaping around it now, but it is a long-term successful business in our city. And I'm usually a stickler for the code, but, I think in this case, a little leeway would be beneficial, because if we start requiring, landscape buffers and, a lot of other, things, then it's going to defeat the purpose of his goal is to create more parking, if that makes sense, within the existing site. So I'm just going to throw that out.
Yeah, one of the questions I had, Ryan, kind of following that up is with the inland landscape buffer, parking lot buffer, definitely I hear that, but did the landscape requirements change though in terms of the exterior property in it, abutting against other residential properties, et cetera? Like, is there a reason that the landscaping doesn't meet that now? Because really what we're doing is extending a parking lot, so it's kind of interesting that it doesn't have the requirements. Were those newer? Do we know why this has happened?
Right, yeah, so like on the west side, there's residential housing, and normally a commercial would have a 10-foot landscape buffer. So in this case, it would have been on like the west side, and I guess that southwest corner as well.
Yeah, so it's
The-
curious to me that that's not there, and that's also those folks have got those storage containers. So I just didn't know if we knew what the history was, so that was just one question I had.
Is there a fence behind the storage containers,
Yes, there's a fence on the west and south property lines. I didn't include the buffer because I know, like John zoomed in, like that south side, there is a very large buffer on, the residential property side, that in the MPC zone there. And then I believe on the west side I believe that is like a 12-foot measurement, if I remember right.
It's almost 15. It's
Almost
14 to 15.
And then it would just be really that small area where that storage container is, that wouldn't have that landscape buffer. But where it is, it's existing, it's been there so long.
Yeah, it's curious how we get into these situations
Yeah.
where they're existing and outside of code. Makes sense if codes change sense. My second kind of question for you on that technical end of things is just the light poles, and maybe I'm missing something. So what's happened here, and we've seen this project come before several times and helped get it to where it could be like this in the first place. But when we look along Washington, the frontage hasn't, like, maybe I'm misunderstanding this, but the width hasn't increased. They're going out. So why would that necessitate 2 more decorative light poles? Because it's not like they're taking the property next to them, but am I misunderstanding?
A little bit. There's 2 existing light poles, so I don't think there needs to be more.
I think I'm referring to this Washington Boulevard site amenities needing to be added, the 2 of those. What triggers the need? I was trying to follow that up here in the code, why they would need to add 2 more is a recommendation.
The code states 1 is needed every 50 feet along Washington, and they have a 200-foot frontage.
So at some point, did we increase the amount of amenities per feet on Washington, and this business just predates that? Is that? what
I'd
looks
assume
like
so.
happened?
Something like that happened.
So I think there was a point in time where it was more of a beautification thing where they either wanted a planter or a bench or a something out there in addition to the decorative.
Yeah, I'm
lights.
just curious about that because that matters.
I
right?
think,
Like-
well, I think just to keep, Washington Boulevard nice, I guess, as we developed.
Yeah, and I guess the thought is when that decision was made, was it to grandfather in existing businesses and leave them alone, or was
I
it
don't
to
think that
grant-
discussion was had.
The consistency that I've run into in my field, and this is with building code that gets updated and you're in a outdated building code, you are allowed to stay on the old code that you were, approved on. But when you go get a permit,
To make changes, right?
and in this example, if Big O switched to a different type of use, they would actually be retrofitting the building if required. So my point is, I think it's relatively consistent with surrounding communities that I've, been a part of. But yeah, you're not grandfathered, it just doesn't apply until you come back for a permit and a change of scope.
Gotcha.
And that's where Ryan is now saying, oh, in our current code, there's
Right.
landscape buffers, there's 10-foot sidewalk, there's,
Gotcha.
you know,
So-
parking lot lights and stuff that it wasn't perhaps required when this.
Yeah,
when
and
this
I think
business
that's
opened.
where the tension comes in, right? Because I'm sure the property owner didn't expect to be slammed with a list this big.
It just
But
needs
then
more
for
parking.
us, how do we, the code has changed, requirements have changed, yeah, so.
And,
okay, cool.
and
I was-
Ryan's doing exactly what he's.
The applicant is
to
also,
do is he's required as a city planner to apply the code now. But-
Absolutely.
But luckily we have a little bit of discretion, which I usually don't deviate, you know me, but in this case, I kind of feel like this is a pretty successful business, long-term business in our city. And I don't know if the city gets any complaints about the storage container or anything else going on at that property, but
I don't have any.
my
other
sense is
questions
it's not a
for
problem now.
Ryan specifically, I don't know
Yeah.
if we had more.
Brian, can I have a question? So it looks like with the code issues, we've kind of reduced the space they wanted to use for more parking, it feels like. Is that true? With the code enforcement, it's
I don't know how
reduced.
many more, I think they're getting I think it's 4 more spots. The biggest one is with the recently approved code change, they're allowed to have a drive aisle, so that additional asphalt
Yeah,
within that 20 feet. That originally last year was the question of why do we have this 20 feet? And that was upheld, but what was approved was you can have a drive aisle there. Because we do allow the ingress and egress
yeah.
to be there. And so that was so I think there's a small increase of parking stalls is all.
So that's just 4 more stalls.
So they're only getting 4 stalls
Oh,
with all this work?
I believe. Yeah, so well, maybe I'm confusing because they're required 27 with their building size, but they're showing 34 currently. So I don't know if I actually looked at the increase, but
We can ask the applicant.
yeah, they have more than what's needed for the building size.
And that's for the building size, but what about all the employees and customers
The demand.
and the demand that's placed
Yeah.
on this business? Are
the parking
are we gonna have
calculations cover.
sufficient?
I think it gives them a better,
Yeah.
they have
Gives
now.
them a chance.
Yeah.
Different attitude.
Yeah. Better, but.
They're still.
That we can.
And I've been a customer there a long time in that drive aisle.
Yes.
That's good news and bad news, right?
John pulled up, Google in the last, city council meeting. If he pulled up a Google now, you'll see exactly why we need that drive aisle.
Yeah.
You know, on the Google map, it like captured the perfect time to show it.
You see, I think we see a truck.
Are you guys have done with questions with Ryan? We can actually ask the applicant to come up.
I do have one more for Ryan.
Okay, please.
Right.
I noticed in the staff report, it said that this property is not part of Pineview Water. So
Oh, right.
are they just fed from culinary water, and is there an intent to annex that to Pineview?
I'm not sure. I know hopefully Eric addressed that in his memo.
I'm
And
sorry, sir.
Looks like
can
the
you-
applicant wants to address though.
That is right.
Should
We did receive a will serve letter
Do you mind
Okay.
coming up and
for
go ahead and
Pine
ask
View
some
to
questions?
come and supply.
Sounds like you had the answer to that.
Jason Westbrook, North Ogden. Yeah, so when we originally built, Pineview wasn't available in that area. So we were on Culinary. We do have a Pineview hookup that we found out is just right off the corner of us. So we will be hooking up to Pineview with that. That was one of our big plans on it.
you did get a will serve letter from.
Yeah.
Plainview?
Yeah, there's one included in the packet for tonight.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh. How do you feel about this item enemy requirement? Are you okay with it?
I'm actually kind of frustrated. I've been trying to get this approved for a year and a half now. I've been before Planning Commission a few times. I've been before City Council a few times. I've spent way too much time at the city offices. I get told one thing, and then when I get to Planning Commission or City Council, it's another. When we submitted this site plan, I was sent out a red line item by Scott. There was 3 things on it. It was the fact of the drive corridor, and it was the fact of the opening on the north side, and it was the fact about the storage container. When I met with Ryan and Eric about the site plan and went over it, they asked me, well, what are you going to do? I was like, well, if I can xeriscape the property, I'd like to xeriscape it. But then they says, well, if you xeriscape it, you still have to put in bushes and different things like that. And I was like, well, I'm going to have to rerun my whole sprinkler system when I do my parking lot. So if I have to do that, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. So I'll just keep the grass that I have. I was told that was okay. So as far as I knew, I could keep the grass that I had and everything was fine. Our detention's going to be relieved on the southeast corner. That area there is going to be a huge part of the detention. But the other thing I found out from our engineer was that all the storm drain pipes going along counts as detention also. And so we have it all down the north side and all down the east side of our lot, which covers a lot of it. There will be some detention left in that northwest corner. But most of it's going to be relieved through the southeast. The back part of it, the storage containers are out of sight. We have a semi-trailer back there that we put our junk tires in so that they're not sticking out and ugly. We have our trash can that's on cement in between the 2 storage containers. I wasn't told anything about needing to block off the trash can. The storage containers have been there. One's been there for over 15 years. One's been there for over 20 years. I haven't ever had a complaint about the storage containers. The only thing I have had complaints on, and I get it all the time, is parking on 1900.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's where I have to have my employees park because I don't have enough room. And
With these changes, how many more parking spaces do you gain? Do you know?
we're picking up roughly 4 to 7. We haven't like totally calculated in. So on the northwest side, where we're cutting a huge section in there, and so a lot of our parking is mechanical jobs waiting to be done. That right there is our mechanical area, and so we stack up all of our mechanical jobs there. I'm going to be able to stack up a ton of cars back there to alleviate them being actually in parking stalls. So that's not going to figure into parking stalls, but it will help.
I mean, when customers leave, it's no longer parking stalls required. It's where you can put the car, right? It's,
They drop them off to be serviced.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I come into the office, I say what I need done, I leave my keys, I go. That requires a stall, but then you take the car and you're getting more stacking space.
Yeah.
You can't quantify it in terms of stall.
Yeah.
You're just getting more room to go bumper to bumper.
Yeah.
End to end, all that.
And that's what's going to help out a lot on that north side because we can take it out much further. So it's gonna open that parking lot up to where we can probably even do it. We're looking into maybe what we can do as far as double stacking, but I don't really want to double stack. That just kind of makes a big, and then that kind of takes away opening up the drive corridor.
Efficiency.
But it's going to give us more area to where we can stack the vehicles that are being left to be worked on and open up and free up more parking. I was actually looking at adding parking along the east side of the building, doing parallel parking in front of the east side of the building. But then the code on that requires it to be 19 feet long. We have an electrical box on that southeast side, so we can't really cut into that side. So I would only be gaining 2 parking stalls there, and I don't know that it's going to kind of be a deficit there. As far as the drive corridor, we had talked about in city council, and they had been asking, well, how can you protect it and make sure that it stays a drive corridor and not parking? And they had suggested putting down striped lines on it. Okay, then do people know that they can drive on it? Or is that something to where, okay, I can't drive on it, I can't park on it, I can't. And so I was saying that, I'll put red all along that curb there, but I can't guarantee somebody's not going to park there. I'm going to do everything I can. The other thing is on that north side, we are going to be opening up the driveway 10 feet, and we're going to do a bigger cement pad there to accommodate trailers. So that leaves that section open to accommodate more vehicles coming in. I didn't plan on the lights because as far as I knew, the lights were put in as decorative, and they were put in before me when my brother owned it still. So I didn't know if there was any requirement there. The 10-foot sidewalk, I don't have a problem with that. The only problem that I do have is if I do have to do the 10-foot, I don't know how much that's going to cut into my detention on that southeast side. The other thing is I was told that North Ogden City had no intention of doing a 10-foot all the way down the west side of the road. They were talking about doing it all the way down the east side since you have more stuff on the east side. So I don't know where we're at on that. I wouldn't have a problem with doing it. I just don't know what I could do as far as detention there. I might still be able to make it work, but I would have to go back to get an engineer and have it redone again, where I'm already into the engineer for $15,000 and I'm still nowhere after a year and a half.
Yeah, and that was sort of the basis of my question for the decorative lights.
Yeah.
Because the way I see it, there's 2 ways to go about it. We have a heart with you and we say, hey, let's see if we can slide past the decorative lights. But you kind of move forward with a stipulation with the city council that might get rejected and whatnot. And we could approve the decorative lights to get one more barrier out of your way moving forward. So I guess I'm wondering if we did the nice thing to remove the lights for you, are we actually delaying your project more by putting another battle in front of you?
I have no
They're
idea.
not the
I don't
end all
know.
be all.
I've been told so many different things that I can't even tell you. Every time I come up with a plan, I go in, I talk to somebody. Oh yeah, that'll work. Do that. So I do that, and then I come back, and yeah, that's where my frustration was last October. Was I got told, well, your site plan won't go through like this. It's like I spent $15,000 on this because you told me it would. And now so now I thought I have everything done. I thought the only thing would be the storage containers tonight, and I'm being told other things. It's like every time I come, it's a different story. And so, yeah, I'm kind of frustrated, and I don't know what the next step is.
Because I'm inclined to say, let the storage containers be as is. I'm also inclined, and I'm not speaking for everyone, just me, to have a discussion about the decorative lights, but I'm also thinking it may not just be a battle worth having. If we say decorative lights, keep the sidewalk, that's our recommendation. The storage containers can remain as is based on our recommendation. Let's move forward with what you've got on the civil drawing, maybe a couple Adobe PDF notations to clarify, but nothing that would necessarily need to go back for a recalculation of impervious surface and stormwater, things like that. So I guess I'm more,
Let's move it forward.
yeah, I want to just move it forward. If this is something that the city wants with the decorative lights when you get to the city council, I'd love to say no, but I have a feeling that that sends you back or not forward. So I guess I'm trying to see through the needs of your business and our interpretation of what needs to happen. So my argument or my answer to all of this would be, you know, the 10-foot sidewalk, I can't clarify, but if it means you have to go back to a civil engineer and you've got here, maybe we have, you know, some sort of pervious concrete there that doesn't get in the way of your detention that the city can say is okay. But I don't think it's fair to bring up, you know, the storage containers. I've never noticed the storage containers and I'm particular. So I guess I kind of say, what if we recommend to keep it as is and you do the decorative lights and we move forward, and that's a good chance that the city council has.
Well, and I guess that's the other question is because the last time I talked with Scott, he says, okay, the next hurdle's planning commission, and then you're done. So as far as I knew, we
Okay.
just needed to get it past
We
the
can get
planning
through.
commission.
I'm-
I didn't know I needed to go before city council again.
Clarify, this is an administrative item,
This is
so
the site.
Okay, so I'm speaking out of pocket on that.
we're,
So we can't
The
just,
authority on
It's-
this.
I think,
Okay.
you know, they are very interested in decorative lighting, but if I understand the decorative features, right? You've got 2 decorative lights. He needs 4 features, not 4 lights. So these features could be a
benches.
planter, or a bench or something.
And we have 5 of the
Gone
decorative
time.
planners.
Well, you do.
Yeah, we have 3 of the decorative planners on the north side of our building. And then in the parking aisle on that north side, there's 2 decorative planners there that are the North Ogden with our logo and the North Ogden logo. But I guess my question would be as far as the lights go, the lights are both on the northeast side. There's nothing on that on that southeast side. So on that southeast side, there's nothing. The 2 are on that side there. So we don't have anything down here. So I don't see how you would have a 50-foot. I mean, I could see maybe putting 1 in there, but that would mean that I'd have,
Because
I
the
don't know
front's so
exactly
broad.
how I would put that in.
Just to bring up with lighting, I want to clarify while the applicant's here for question phase. Ryan, it looks like we have these decorative elements on Washington, but there's also an 11-11-6, an exterior lighting recommendation, and that means within the parking lot. Is that accurate? And is that a requirement? As I'm reading code here, I'm trying to figure out, or is that just if he is going to do that, we need to see the placement of that?
Right, so the Washington lights are separate,
Decorative.
not decorative
The
lights.
safety parking lot.
And from what I can tell in our code, we don't have like a requirement of lighting. All of the code says is when there's lighting, here are the requirements. So whether that's on the building, and most parking lots will have
Yeah.
some type
but
of lighting.
Just bring me to clarify with you, are you planning any additional lighting with the increase of?
When we first built the building, we tried doing light posts and we got denied by North Ogden.
Okay, but on the.
So right now we have security lights on the outside of the building. So there's 3 lights on the north side of the building and 2 lights on the back side.
If it's not a requirement, we're good. I just
Okay.
wanted to see if that was something that you.
you have exterior wall.
Yeah, we have, yeah,
And you're not operating at night generally. then?
no.
Okay, well, do we have additional questions? And then we
I'm
can,
just kinda
I think
going
we'll have a
down.
lengthy discussion on this one.
Yeah,
Uh,
let's discuss.
Let me just
Yeah, we
see
need to.
here. Yeah, I think that's it. If you won't mind if we discuss some of these a little.
Okay. Yeah, if you have any questions, please.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So I kind of am in agreement with Commissioner Bailey, like, in this particular instance, I mean, you know, that business has been there established you know, it looks nice, it's successful, please.
Sorry, I was gonna say one more thing. So we are in the process of painting the building right now. We've painted the bottom, the new big O black. The top's gonna be painted light gray. I'd be willing to paint those storage containers to match the building so that it blends in better too, if that's
I honestly think that's probably the intent,
okay.
you know?
That would-
Thank
that
you.
would work good.
So should we maybe just, because there's so much going on with this, would you guys be opposed to just starting at the list of staff recommendations and addressing them one by
Yes, let's
one?
do that.
And then if we're making a motion, it seems to me that the easiest thing to do would be to strike anything that we're not wanting in the staff recommendations that we're willing to give to Big O
Right,
for this project.
or modify it in some way.
Yes, so if we could just, yeah, maybe just as a recommendation, because it is lengthy.
Okay.
So that's down there under conditions of approval, page
Yeah.
10 for everyone's ease.
So in terms of the two site amenities along Washington Boulevard, two site amenities along Washington Boulevard are submitted for approval prior to the issuance of a building permit. So he's got two decorative lights. He's required 4. I mean, if you guys want, we could say 1 decorative light on that south part or add 2 additional.
I don't think you could get 2 in.
No, we couldn't get 2. It just have to be
You know, the
one
one
more.
probably would be sufficient.
And are you guys set on requiring a light and a decorative light there, or would a different amenity? He says he's got planters and things like that, so.
Yeah,
There's a list of what those amenities include, Ryan? Like a
The
list of
code
what they are,
Suggests like
E.
a park or a bench.
a bench.
Or
What about a flagpole?
I didn't realize that we have our North Ogden planners are
Right.
there, like
yeah, there are.
those could.
They're not
be
on the
considered.
street, though. They're next to the building.
That's what I'm wondering is where does that have to be?
Beautify
Does it have to
Washington.
be on Washington? Does it have to be in that?
It's
park
like,
district?
I don't know. That's,
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I think that's what the code says. But,
so are we comfortable considering a reduction to 1 on that south end or removing it, saying he has other decorative items? I think part of North Ogden's identity is those decorative light posts going up Washington.
They are kind of fun.
Yeah, they are kind of cool.
And
And I'd say, I mean, 1 seems plenty with how much drive aisle space
Yeah,
he's
2
taking up.
seems- I think we all agree 2 is too much.
It would almost cheapen the idea of the lighting.
sorry, John, you had a.
I was gonna say, and one thing that, you know, we didn't present in the staff report, but this property is one of the properties that was granted money from the RDA grant program to help cover some of these costs. And so like 1 light instead of 2 might be a good compromise, because the plan is that as the commercial to the south of this to 1700 is finalized, they will also be installing these lights all the way to the light at 1700.
Some consistency.
So and the goal is to have them spaced consistently, but because of different things, they wiggle a little bit. So 1 down there would probably be sufficient, and then as they move south, they could be spaced.
But I think that goes hand in hand too with the 10-foot sidewalk.
Yeah.
As consistency
Right.
up and down there.
I think we're gonna get to the sidewalk, but just to kind of close the loop on this light, so we don't circle back around to it. It sounds like everyone would be okay with just requiring 1 light on that southwest.
Southeast.
Especially if, yeah, especially if the RDA has a grant for it.
Not requiring any additional lighting in the parking lot or building or
Yeah.
anything. Okay,
That means that item number 3 under conditions, we wouldn't be meeting that condition because that's the parking lot lighting. Bullet point number 3.
well, do we want the design like where that light's going to be, or they'll just leave it at there'll be 1 additional decorative light on
There's
it?
That's a
not-
good point.
A lot of space to put it there.
It would just have to be in here somewhere.
Somewhere that meets
Okay.
the existing conditions of.
So number 3 could be struck, yes.
Mhm.
And then the trash enclosure location design is required to be submitted. It sounds like it's hidden back there with the storage. Do you want it covered in any way? Closed?
I think I would put it, if one of the conditions is if he's offered the paint, I think,
Just paint the storage.
I think,
Well, are we on the trash?
I'm on the
enclosure?
trash right now.
oh,
Number 4.
But
that's
it's
a
back
tough
there
one.
between the 2 storage containers, it sounds like.
But I think anytime a property has improvements, a trash enclosure satisfies not just beauty, but sometimes wind and things blowing,
Yeah.
they help contain. So I don't know, it seems
So
like
leave the
that's
trash
a
enclosure?
reasonable thing to bring up to code. What do you?
The building's cinder block, a trash enclosure out of cinder block is pretty common. I know Waste Management really, really, really pushes hard for the trash enclosures too. They like that.
So
I hate to do it,
keeping that one.
but I'd be more willing to give up one light for the consistency of dumpster enclosures.
Yeah.
Not because it's Big O, but because it's the next one down the line. The next one down the line, I'm willing to talk lights
And trash
and
enclosure.
trash enclosures, but I'd rather be loose on the lights and more consistent on the trash enclosures.
Yeah.
All right, everybody pretty much agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay, storage containers are removed to conform. Can we just strike that, or do you want to put something in there about painting it?
Paint.
I think the paint the only thing I wanted to say about this is I am very uncomfortable. Like, we obviously need to look at this code. We have a code on the books that is completely being ignored / whatever reason. We probably just don't have staff power to go out and find businesses, which isn't what we want to even be doing for storage containers. But if you read the code, like, it's very non-negotiable. They're not supposed to exist at all, except for like it's a 14-day period.
Yeah.
So I just think that whatever we do here, we need to change this. I don't love them personally. I think that, if you're backing up against that, like, they're storage containers, like they belong in manufacturing zone in my mind, not commercial. But I think that's something we need to look at. Like, if you guys are
Yeah.
willing to change that, then I think there's a lot of businesses that are
Storage,
using them.
yeah, the storage containers are to hide the bad tires, though,
Yeah.
not
and,
for
like,
manufacturers.
Laying out either.
Rather have that
the
than the
love
tire. Just
has been in the back. I mean, this is something, if you get down into that area of the city, we do have some businesses that are utilizing the big shipping containers for extra space, whether we want that or not. I think
Yeah.
right now though, we have a code
Yeah.
that we're just
Yeah.
ignoring.
I know we're ignoring it, but in some ways I am looking at this as a grandfathered sort of.
I think that's the
Property.
point I was gonna make.
I mean, this is the only reason that I would deviate from code is
Yeah.
because it's been there for many years. It hasn't been an issue.
Well,
you know.
and I think with the code, the question I would ask, and this is unrelated to the current applicant, but just, do we need to modify this code? We do have creative things like, drink soda shops using storage containers as actual like buildings. There's some interesting things happening, whether or not we want that. I mean, I'm just saying, in this case, we have several instances where businesses are using these, so we might want to just look at that section of code.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm a rule follower and
Okay.
I struggle to have
Yeah, we
these on the
understand.
books that are meaningless, I guess. at this
You
point.
know, I am always too. but-
But with this particular business, I mean, the one, and then maybe with the storage, if we look at code, they are in the back, like his are really far back there. He's not got them on the side.
And if he was repaving,
Notice them.
if he was repaving and moving them, I'd say you've probably triggered the intent of the code, but there is the storage containers, if you drew a radius from them, they're the one thing on the site that's the furthest away from any modification. And I really want to enforce this because I have had to deal with it in my job. But it's that principle I said earlier, when you modify the building or have a change of use, there's always nuance in there on how serious the modification is. If it's a restaurant to a restaurant, some cities say that's a triggering of a change of use. Some cities say it's the same use. In this one, I don't know the codes, we might want to get into that, but
You're good.
we're removing some landscape and putting down some asphalt. This seems,
purpose is to add
Give
more
him some
parking
spaces,
space.
yeah.
yeah. And to make better flow for deliveries and
An argument can be made that
Yeah.
these honestly actually become the buffer too between it and a neighboring property.
Yeah.
So, I think we can discuss that later. I just wanted to point that out.
and I actually agree with
Right,
that.
Yeah.
your point is very well taken, yeah.
But I
We
love
gotta
the idea
some
that Commissioner Bailey had
noise.
painting. I think that's a good compromise.
And the owner has indicated he would be willing to paint.
Though, like, if we paint a semi-trailer, do we bring more attention to it? I'm dead serious. Like, are we adding attention to this rather than just leaving them be?
Have
We
you ever
never know.
noticed it?
Never.
Well, that's true, because they're like.
And I've been there, like,
If we put them in an enclosure, are we not bringing more, he puts it in an enclosure and paints it big O red and black and gray. We've now got
Right.
that too.
That's
I
fair.
honestly don't know what those
This
look
is a
like.
business that's also very interesting because now they've painted black, which technically is not what city code requires, except for they're gonna use the franchise thing that was
Right.
changed, which I personally, like, that's a little scary to me. But yeah, so we're looking at painting 2 giant shipping containers stark black, which that's a great point. Perhaps that's.
I just don't see, I don't see that that's really a compromise. I'm sorry, but.
What is in the storage containers? I think that would probably just,
The paint, I wouldn't be painting the storage containers black. I would paint them the light gray that's gonna be on the top of the
Thank you.
building.
I kind of.
because if they were chemicals and,
Is on that, like I said, they are in that back corner. They are up against they're close to that fence, but there's still a buffer there. But they're out of the way. They're not seen. But the other thing is the code that came out that you guys are discussing as far as not having storage containers, that came out way after we had the containers already there.
yeah.
But then it came out with the thing of, oh, well, if they're there for 14 days, then they have to be moved, but they were already there. They were already existed before that code was put into place.
I still think if we demand that they're painted so that they're accepted, then we're sort of, again, negating
Right.
like, if we're gonna say
Or if we
they
just
can
say
stay,
it's
say
grandfather.
they can stay.
And what's the storage container made of?
That he can. Excellent point.
Storage containers like a shipping.
Sorry, sir, can you come up to the?
Yeah, sorry, because this question may clarify everything. What are the storage containers constructed of?
Metal. They're just a storage, like, you would see a shipping container on a train.
Okay. And I don't know the city code, but in other projects I've done, steel enclosures for a dumpster are usually acceptable. And in this case, with a storage container, if it's already in a container, are we inconsistent with the code by requiring them to be in a container that contains the container?
That's the trash dumpster, I think, is the only enclosure concept, right? Because these are just that they wanted the. storage
Yeah.
container removed.
But what
So the
Mr.
stor-
Bailey is saying is old tires is a trash enclosure.
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
essentially trash.
Oh, but we're,
It's a recycling bin.
yeah, I see what you're suggesting, I don't think the conditions suggest that those be enclosed. It was for the trash, the like bags, correct? The dump.
Okay.
That the
Well-
company comes and picks up.
And I guess my question on the dumpster is, so on the one storage container that's up against on the south side of the property, it's facing north, so the door's open on that north side. Then the trash can is in between that and the other storage container, which also opens. So both the doors open towards the dumpster. And they both, I mean, it's hidden other than the fact of that's the trash right there. So it's sandwiched between the two storage bins. The only thing is there's nothing across the front of it.
So do you,
Does it ever move in the wind? Or you ever have any issues with it?
No. Because it is blocked by the building and the containers, and we have that big fence back there. I mean, you'd always have something blowing, but I generally don't have anything blowing out of the dumpster.
Really?
Trash enclosures are standard code they've been for decades.
Yeah.
Do we want to re-enter discussion or do we have other questions?
I think we have the questions answered on the containers and the trash enclosure from the applicant now. If we have, as we get into this, we may ask you to come back.
The storage containers aren't that high either. So we do have one semi that's where we load all of our junk tires at for them to be hauled away. That one does sit high, but we can't really do anything. That's constantly in and
That
out of there.
moves.
That one's constantly in and out of there. The other ones are maybe 10 feet tall at the most. So I mean, they're not really tall.
Well below the level of the top of the fence.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're right. Actually, they're probably right even. Maybe it might be a little bit higher, but right even. But yeah, if we do paint it, I would say we'd just paint it. It's a really light gray. It looks more white than anything. And they're actually requiring, they big Big O had actually required that we do 50% of the building in black. And we're not gonna do that much. We're going just the very bottom. And we're using the clause of it's a hot state, so you can't really do that. And then we're gonna do the light across the top. So I was even thinking about painting the storage containers beforehand. So even if you guys don't do it, I'm probably still gonna do it. But
I was trying to be
Thank you.
nice, you know.
thank you.
Thank you.
I actually,
I'm
your
just
point is well taken. I think it's like, if we're just gonna say, okay, it's grandfathered, I don't think we should start putting more rules onto it.
Right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're gonna, then we
Then-
kind of cross into where we do
Make
need
it
to
a
apply.
Separate situation. I think that's fair.
And if he decides
It's
to
an
paint it,
untouched
great.
portion
Make
of
it
the
look-
site,
yeah.
therefore not triggering
Owner's
the
choice.
statute.
There you go. And we won't have no.
And I'm okay setting that precedent if everyone's okay setting that precedent.
I am too.
If you come in and need a permit to put, you know, new asphalt in the future in North Ogden City, your dumpster enclosure is safe. I think, I mean, we have to know what we're getting into, right? We are setting a precedent.
So we're good on storage containers.
Yeah.
I think so.
Now,
Storage
um,
containers.
I mean, on the flip side, I don't know. I think I'm done with this
Yeah,
one.
let's leave
Yeah,
it.
well,
yeah.
I thought we had,
Keep trucking.
I thought we.
No flip side.
I thought we had come to consensus sort of on the trash enclosure, but it sounded like it's opened up again.
Yeah.
We were gonna
did.
require some sort of trash enclosure,
I think trash enclosures are incredibly standard and have been a
Yeah.
requirement in most cities for a very long
Yeah.
time. So I mean, we don't have to have agreement, but I think that seems like a pretty basic.
I think we kind of agreed to
got-
that on that
We
bullet.
do have just one more thing.
Don't mean the storage containers.
No,
That-
just the dumpster.
Where's on this, will you go to Google Earth real quick, John, please? Okay. So the dumpster's not really moving, but we're showing maybe some more angled parking in front of it.
Yeah.
Just an FYI.
So
So there's a good chance that just over time of being in this building, he may just want, he may just do it himself. Like when you go to Maverick, they have their dumpster right there on the north side.
Yeah.
And when you pull in front of it, it says, if you're here at this time, you're in trouble. Cause,
I bet you they're using that parking now.
yeah,
So I think we're saying enclosure.
Some type of enclosure. I think the
Yeah,
bullet
maybe
actually
just-
says the trash enclosure location and design is required to be submitted for approval prior to the issuance of a building.
Mhm.
So he can work with Ryan on whatever the easiest way to do that. Issuance of the building permit.
Yeah.
of the building.
Yeah.
Okay.
and if it helps, you can reach out to me. I have
Additional building.
I have drawings of dumpster enclosures, so you don't need to go chase it down. You gotta maybe
Not just for the.
install it, but
Site plan for
The, or
the site
that one's a
work.
tough one for me.
the whole site. It wouldn't require a building.
There's no
permit.
building. permit.
I don't want to look them in the eye.
We talked.
Sorry, I heard Lauren. So I did clarify with our building department, they do ask for a building permit to inspect, to make sure there's ADA stalls. And I know there's existing ones, they just weren't shown on the site plan, but our building department is required to make sure that there's ADA stalls and they're up to standard.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So the next bullet on the storage containers, we're just gonna strike that, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. The next one, ADA stalls and landscape islands, every 10 parking stalls are submitted for approval prior to the issue of the permit. How about we just change that to ADA stalls
Yes.
and not require landscape islands every 10 parking
I
stalls? That
think
defeats,
So
that defeats the purpose of adding.
He would
the
probably just
extra
walk away.
parking spot.
next.
Yeah.
okay, so we're okay with that, just so we would just strike and landscape,
Yeah.
landscape
Yes.
islands every 10 parking stalls and leave the rest of it.
Love it.
Sidewalk along Washington Boulevard is widened to 10 feet to meet North Ogden City Public Works standard.
I think for consistency, we need to have that
Sidewalk.
with the additional light.
Yeah, for consistency, I think it's accurate. I'm just I got a little bit of heartburn having to go back to a civil engineer to draw a line. charge them $500, do the re-detention calculation on something that maybe they weren't aware of from previous conversations.
Can
So-
I ask a question on that?
Come on
So
up, sir, please.
if John will pull up Google Earth again, and if you'll just go arrow down to the south, I don't know how, if you go up just a little bit. So we have right where so right there, it doesn't show drastically, but to the south of us, it actually cuts out pretty hard. So I don't know exactly how that 10-foot sidewalk
Be a
transitions in
transition
there.
Somehow.
So it almost on the south side in front of the car wash, it's almost like they made their park strip as part of the sidewalk, is what it looks like to me. So does that mean that by doing that, instead of going back onto my property, I dissolve the park strip and do a sidewalk down that? Cause that's what it looks like on the south side of me with the car wash.
So even if this line was extended straight north, you wouldn't end up on your property. But I think you're right that there's a way to wiggle it in between the curb and the detention basin to achieve the goal. Because I don't know that UDOT has a standard, we need this much
No.
park strip. It's just, so that it doesn't need to be a straight line, I think.
Well, and the other thing that I'm worried about is I know, so talking about the whole thing of when you redesign a site plan, you have to make changes, and that's, I mean, it wasn't really why we left the back alone. There wasn't really much we could do back there. But we know we left it alone thinking, okay, well, it can't be affected by it because there's nothing being changed there. I had been told in the past, and I don't know if this is true because I've been told so many things that I have, that if you do anything with the approach along Washington, that UDOT will come back and tell you that you have to delete your approach. So by doing the sidewalk, I don't know if that will.
No, it's only if you haven't had commercial access, they might force you from one commercial down to, or from two down to one. But UDOT is not likely to eliminate your only commercial access off Washington.
Okay.
But you will need a permit to move this box or to touch it at all. To do any digging in UDOT right away, you'll have to talk to UDOT.
If you do that. Otherwise, there may be ways around that.
Well, as far as I know, that is our storm drainage.
But it's on their property.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Oh.
if you can work around it and not touch it and add sidewalk to make that 10-foot, that would be better for you. So
But yeah, I guess that would, because that's the thing that I didn't, looking at that on the south side, the way that it chokes down, it's like, I don't know how we would make that sidewalk work to make it a 10-foot to join up. So if you're looking for uniformity, I don't know how that looks with trying to make it uniform when that chokes down there at that point.
maybe just work with the city engineer to
I say we
come up
punt
with
that
a
one.
solution there.
The,
Punt?
The 10-foot.
What do you mean?
the public works
Seems
standards,
complicated for us to solve the problem by saying,
I think we're gonna use the engineer to help him.
the public works standards do specify like a meandering can be part of the Washington. It like,
And
it doesn't have to be a straight line.
and it even, I believe, says 8 to 10 feet. So we could squish it down to 8 feet, meander it so we don't touch the basin and move it north. Yeah. And usually the goal is that it would just be like, if it's 5 feet now, you would just add 3 feet. You don't tear the whole thing out and redo it. It's just, yeah, so
Line
that
it
to
up.
make it
doesn't need to
easier.
Be exactly,
And it
you
doesn't
can
have
work
to be
around some
straight.
stuff or
You
have
can-
the intent of it, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess my other question would be on that, then if I'm cutting into that grass, then that's gonna take away some of my green space too. So then if I take away green space, then I gotta find that green space somewhere else.
But
I don't know that the green space here
Out in UDOT right away.
counts towards the calculation.
From what I was told is the park strips don't, but even if the grass is on an easement, that counts towards green space. So if I'm cutting in on the UDOT easement on the inside of the sidewalk, as far as I've been told, like I said, I've been told a few things that haven't came back and bit me.
Are you-
that it would take away.
Are you
from
right on the
space.
cusp of the green space requirement?
I believe so. I believe we're just over.
Do you know, Ryan, what the percentage is that he's at?
They were provided there, right? So they were at their 10%. And I think that was including what's west of the sidewalk.
West of the sidewalk, but not east.
Right.
Yeah, not, as far as I was told, everything on the park strips doesn't count. It's just on the inside of the sidewalk.
But some of that widening could occur on the
Park strip.
east, in the park strip.
In the park strip itself.
Yeah,
Would be 10%.
especially if we're only going to 8 feet.
That should,
I think it's just. the-
also understanding
I don't
that
think
we're
this-
asking you to do 8 feet, so I think if it's approved as it is, you should be okay with the green space, like, we're not gonna come back and then yell at you about green space, I promise.
I just feel like it's a lot of work and a lot of money to put in another 3 feet.
Yeah.
I mean, I
is.
would be happy to do it. It's just,
The
I,
intent is so that two people can travel up and down there side by side and someone's coming the other way and they don't have a problem passing each other and they can walk up and down the street comfortably.
and I think if it was more of a walking city, I could see that,
Well,
but I don't
Our
really see anybody
long-term
walking.
intent is that we do allow our residents to move up and down Washington
Yeah,
and have it.
and what I was,
Property is developed south of the car wash at the Patriot Point. It's supposed to have commercial and, you know, all those multifamily housing behind it, that they want it to be more of a walkable. type.
okay.
Well, and Jason, as Commissioner Bailey was figuring out, if your total site is 4,200 square feet, then your landscape requirement 10% would only be 4,200. So if it's
Okay.
42,000, it would be 4,200 square feet. So your engineer's math is off down here somewhere.
Okay.
So it might be that
We found the room.
that
I might be able to get back to him and he might have to do it for free then.
this,
Seven
and
fishes.
there might be 2,600 square feet out here, right? And so they've included it in their number, but you've got the 10% on your site, and there might be 2,600 square feet out here. But it's we can throw it in our Bluebeam and verify some of that.
Okay,
But
So-
you're almost 20 or 15%.
15% there. yeah.
okay.
So what do you guys think about then changing that bullet to say
Thank you.
something along the lines with, you know, work with the city engineer to design a sidewalk designed between 8 and 10 feet along Washington Boulevard?
From a city engineer standpoint, he has total detention cubic yards calculation. Is that detention, sorry, I know, we'll just quickly, is that detention, is it depressed or is it just grass?
It will be depressed. Right now has a little bit of a detention there, but it's gonna have to be hauled out more.
So would it be egregious for this current site plan to keep it as is and work with the city engineer if they take, let's say, 60 square feet of this site for the sidewalk? Is it that hard to determine the new depth of the detention? Or does he have to go back to Gardner Engineering to have that done? Just based on your
You
experience.
could easily do it with the engineer.
Okay.
The engineer.
Because it seems like it's gonna be one of those ones
And
that's
if
on
you
the
look,
fly.
the park strip
That's,
there
yeah,
is
the
gravel.
picture you just had, John, it's gravel now,
It's
your
gravel,
park strip,
so
right?
it could easily go in sidewalk and,
Just make
take
it
it back.
sidewalk instead of gravel?
yeah, over that side.
Okay.
I guess my only question on that is on the approach where it slopes down. You wouldn't want the sidewalk sloping down, so
No,
do you
Yeah.
swerve it back? I,
Just work with Eric.
okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
on that.
So we'll just
Could make
change
it
that
better.
bullet to work with the city engineer to design,
They can have a cross.
Something that's acceptable in that 8 to 10 foot range.
Okay. We're just so close to preventing him from having to go.
Yeah, we want to
Maybe if
get
he's-
this moving for you, for sure. Design an acceptable 8 to 10 foot sidewalk along Washington Boulevard. Sound right?
And then the last point is about the landscape requirements, which if I'm understanding kind of our general consensus, I think we can strike in terms of this grandfathering in we're trying to do. So everybody's
Yes.
comfortable with that?
Great.
Yep.
Great.
Which would then give us.
Because in
ability-
essence, he has the landscape plan on that previous one.
And that would include the buffers and things like that, that they talked about, the berms or other things.
Oh,
It's the
The-
screening along street
The screen-
frontages, yeah.
Green
We-
with berm.
We only have maybe 3 properties on Washington Boulevard that actually have a berm that accomplishes the goal of the code. Like there's just headlights. Anyone who's pointed at the street along Washington, you can see their headlights. And so but I think this is the same code that's been in here for 20 years. And the reality is the people don't build a berm to hide the headlights or put shrubs up because it causes more problems than it helps.
But also in reality, if you look at the plan where he cuts in the asphalt, there's a retaining wall
Yes.
to keep it back. So, and based on what John said, he's probably on the top of the list of conformance.
Yeah.
so we're okay to strike that last
Yeah.
bullet?
So
Do you guys want me to take a stab at this motion or
good luck.
does somebody
Jen.
else want to? I'm just gonna go, I'm just gonna address
Yeah, I think
the
you're ready.
recommended conditions of approval and the changes we would propose to that in our motion. Is everybody okay
Okay.
with? And if we can have a discussion after. So I'll make a motion that we approve the site plan, subject to the conditions in the staff report and supporting department recommendations with the following changes. Under the recommendations of approval, number 1, meet the requirements of the engineering report. Number 2, strike 2 site amenities along Washington Boulevard as submitted for approval prior to the issuance of a building permit, and change that to 1 additional decorative lighting pole to be installed on the southeast corner of the Park Strip area.
Yep.
And I guess submitted for approval prior to the issuance of the building permit. So we're going to strike number 3, because I think we've already addressed that. No, let me, yeah, just strike number 3.
Mhm.
The trash enclosure location and design. Is required to be submitted for approval prior to the issuance of a building permit. Strike the next bullet about the storage containers, just remove it completely. Then the next bullet, ADA stalls. Are submitted for approval prior to the issuance of a building permit.
Yeah,
And strike the part in there that talks about the landscape islands every 10 feet in
correct.
the parking stalls. The next one, strike it completely and replace it with work with the city engineer to design an acceptable 8 to 10-foot sidewalk along Washington Boulevard to meet the North Ogden City work standards.
Yes,
And then the next bullet, strike it completely,
yes.
Which is the landscaping.
which talks about the landscaping plan. Is everybody okay with that?
Great job.
Sounds good.
Very good.
Second that motion.
Okay. Let's go ahead and take a vote. Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner,
Yes.
Commissioner Neighbor,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
and I say yes. So let's move forward with that. Thank you very much for all your patience.
Thank you.
And we are the final authority on this. Correct.
Yeah, I don't, other than
Yeah,
what he
I
needs to
goofed on
work
that
with
one. I
the city
apologize.
engineer on designs or
And,
whatever they
and
use.
if you do need someone to provide the enclosure drawings, I'd be happy to do that. So you don't have to go hunt that down.
I guess my question on that is on the enclosure. I'm assuming you want more than just chain link? Or what do you consider an enclosure?
It's in our standards.
Because I would say with the way that the two containers are, if I were to design a gate to where they
Hmm.
Yeah.
came together and opened, would that be sufficient, or do I have to have it completely out of sight, out of mind?
We don't require a lid and we do allow a gate. And so the idea is that a solid sides and then a gate on the front, and probably with your vinyl fence and the shipping containers, that'd probably satisfy the solid sides. So
Okay.
yeah, a chain link gate would probably work.
Well, and the dumpster has lids of its own that we keep closed. So I mean, it's like.
That's why I
as
said
far as
we
an
don't
enclosure,
require a
but
lid.
okay.
Yeah.
I guess the other question is on, the ADA. I have handicap stalls. So do I have to have that added on to the site plan? I mean,
Wait.
how,
We'll just verify that there's two there at the
Okay.
completion of the asphalt work.
okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Nancaro,
Yes.
the Mickelsons are probably loving this, but it might be good to make sure they know that it's not rude if they leave.
You want
Yeah,
to?
okay.
It's kind of.
Okay.
The first time she's been to either, a planning commission or, yeah.
Okay.
But if you.
I just wanted to make sure.
Feelings. if you
Welcome.
wanna-
Yeah.
Yours was the easy. All right, well, let's move along to our legislative item that we have tonight. And this is actually going to be a public hearing. Consideration and recommendation regarding a legislative amendment to consider amending North Ogden Land Use Code Title 11, 10 Alpha -2, which is permitted uses in commercial zones, to add manufacturing light as a use. And also to modify 11-7, which is the definition, to add a definition for what manufacturing light would actually entail. And that will be presented by Ryan Nunn tonight. Oh, actually, is Scott online?
Scott's
Oh,
on.
sorry, Scott.
That's okay. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, yeah, so it'll be our planning director, Scott Hess.
Okay, thank you, commissioners. It's been a very interesting conversation and I appreciate listening and had a few messages back and forth with John that I would have loved to be there and communicate, but I think that what's happened, what's happened has been very good. So thank you all. And thanks for the flexibility of letting me present this from home. So I'll begin now. And this is a zoning text amendment that was requested by the city council for the planning department to consider a light manufacturing use, how they are defined, and it's specifically in this case related to a business that does 3D printing and product assembly. That we really didn't have a good way to administratively approve or look at that business license for. So what we're bringing forward tonight is information that could inform how we look at things such as light manufacturing, if that's the right word or terminology that we should use, and make a recommendation to city council so that we can be flexible and responsive to businesses coming into the city, while also knowing that there are new technologies coming out now that weren't around even, months to years ago that may not fit perfectly into our definitions. So that's just a little bit of background. To begin, our city ordinance 11-10A2 in the permitted uses of the commercial zones does not list anything related to manufacturing. The only place that manufacturing is permitted is in the manufacturing M1 zone. And our definitions in 11-7 define manufacturing, but clearly, it does not clearly specify a light manufacturing versus a general manufacturing. So the terminology for manufacturing is shown below. 11-7 definitions is simply the fabricating or assembling of materials into finished or partially finished products by hand or by the use of machinery. And, you know, this might not come across as my normal like smart aleck comment that I would make in person, but it's like, how is that different than, you know, baking or bringing together different items? You know, when the different definition is that simplistic, I have a hard time figuring out how to, it's so compartmentalized between what individually each one of these things for manufacturing might be. So we were unable to process this business license. It's a business license that has applied for a commercial space in the Southtown Center area. And because it creates new goods, so it fabricates through 3D printing materials, and then they assemble materials into final finished products. That's one reason. And then the second is that it's in the commercial Southtown zone where nothing related to manufacturing is listed as a permitted use. It was denied. And that information sits down in the exhibits if you've read through the staff report and see the communication back and forth between the business, Colleen Phillips, our business license professional in the city, Ryan Nunn's response letters. There's some communication, I think, with me in there as well. And this ultimately led to City Council requesting us to look at it. So in doing some review of places where this business actually exists, there's one over in Riverdale City. I came up with a manufacturing light definition, and you might, you know, think that we should just call it light manufacturing, but the way our code, if you read the 11.7 definitions works, is that we keep the main word like building height, and then we use that, you know, we use a comma and a definer for like building height uphill lot, building height downhill lot, and then all of the relevant definitions stay in one location. So I realize that that's a little bit of a weird formatting, but it is the way that our code currently works. So the proposed definition from staff is that light manufacturing would be the assembly of materials entirely within enclosed buildings with no significant noise, vibration, emissions, or other adverse impacts on nearby properties or uses. This includes the use of hand tools and 3D printing equipment. Limited on-site storage of raw materials and finished goods is permitted, provided all storage occurs within enclosed structures. Goods may be finished or semi-finished for direct sale or used as components in other products. That is the combination of several cities and states and Google searches of light manufacturing. And it was my attempt to try to hem it down in a way that would limit impacts or open up our commercial Southtown. My recommendation is specifically for the commercial Southtown zone, but that it would limit impacts within existing buildings and not just open the floodgates to some sort of larger scale manufacturing type of use. The next change would be in 1110A2 permitted uses. These are the permitted uses that are within the commercial zones. There's commercial neighborhood, CN, commercial downtown, CCDT, which is from 2300 north, and then from 2300 north south is the commercial Southtown district. And we've added item P, manufacturing light as defined in 11.7, not permitted in neighborhood commercial, not permitted in downtown, permitted in commercial Southtown, and then that bumps propane retail sales as an accessory use to letter Q. So with conformance with the general plan, that's something we have to consider every time we do a legislative item or a zoning text amendment. We really don't discuss manufacturing uses in the general plan. So there is a section about attracting new retail development with a focus on businesses that generate taxable sales. So sales tax is a critical funding source for our growing community. This business, it does do a portion of their sales directly to the consumer and would produce sales tax revenue for the city. But it's not clear to me whether or not this location would be specifically for that or not. So that's probably a question for the applicant. And I realize that they are there. I hope that they're still there. I've had some communication back and forth with the folks at this business. But the city has kind of two tracks we've got to think about. One is the business license at hand that's been denied based on the administration of the code as I see it. And then the other is the fact that a change like this isn't just for one business. It's for any business coming in and applying. And so we need to be careful and cognizant about that on how we define these things. So, knowing that the funding sources for a city is a three-legged stool of sales tax revenue, property taxes, and franchise taxes, which are your service fees that you pay for. We're very protective of sales tax generating areas, knowing that we really aren't going to get a whole lot more of them. And in my opinion, as the planning director, if the business can show that the assembly business do something positive and utilize a space in the commercial Southtown zone and create some additional, maybe sales tax revenue, I think that's all going to be beneficial for this one particular business, but I am cautious still with what the outcomes would be in future businesses. So staff's recommendation is the Planning Commission conduct a public hearing. It was noticed on July 3rd. It wasn't mailed out because this is a change at large for the code. But we do have a public hearing, consider the information, discuss the changes, and then provide a recommendation to the city council regarding the requested ordinance change. And with that, I'll turn my mic off and be happy to take any questions.
All right, thanks, Scott. Before we open a public hearing, does anybody have any questions for Scott?
Maybe after.
Okay, and I know we've been here for almost 2 hours. Does anybody need a 5-minute break or anything?
This is the last item on the agenda.
Oh, that's okay. All right, well, let's go ahead and open a public hearing at this time. And if we can ask the applicant to come up and address us from the podium.
Hey, I'm Mike Schoblum. I live in North Ogden. So yeah, we're currently doing business in Riverdale, small business. It's just me and my business partner. We don't have any employees. And we kind of went through some similar stuff with Riverdale when we started to get our business license. We weren't in a zone that permitted manufacturing. We told them what we do and they wanted to classify it as light manufacturing. So that's what we called it when we submitted an application here too. And they gave us a conditional use permit and we haven't had any problems. They've been good with us there. So yeah, what we do, our business model, we build products, we design and sell products for Humvees and Hummer H1s. So aftermarket accessories, doors, center consoles, seats, seat bases, all that kind of stuff. So people can accessorize. So think of like Jeep accessories. That's what we do for Humvees and Hummers. Our designs are fairly complex. We don't have the tooling and equipment to make most of it. So we outsource most of our manufacturing, but we do a lot of assembly before shipping it. So we do a lot of like tons of riveting, a little bit of welding. Yeah. And then just.
Is it 3D printing at all?
Yeah, we do some 3D printing and we do, when we do a new design, we do prototyping in-house. So like usually we'll build a lot of the first product we build to test things out, test fit it on a vehicle. And then we go back to our manufacturing partners. So, but yeah, we have like 4 3D printers. So we use them for, a lot of prototyping. And then we have a few small components that we do just build, like we manufacture that, a small component that goes into an assembly in-house. So
Is that an aftermarket also, Mike?
what's that?
Aftermarket on the 3D printer products, is that aftermarket with sales tax generated or is it?
Yeah. They're just go into a bigger assembly. That's something that we would sell. Yeah. So Scott mentioned that mostly we would be selling like retail sales. We do have a partner that we work with who we'd be wholesaling to. They are a builder, so they would buy our products and put them on their builds, and they're local. They're in Ogden, so that would be like the wholesale side of it. But other than that, we have a website and.
Can I ask questions right now?
Yes.
So in your revenue stream in Riverdale, what would you say your % of wholesale versus retail is?
We've actually been shifting. So we were working with a partner where we were doing more wholesale. mostly wholesale, maybe 80% to them. And that relationship is ended. So we've been like really just kind of scrambling to get our website up and everything. And that's our main plan now is,
So you, last year, your wholesale was 80% then?
Yeah.
Wholesale.
until 6 months ago, probably. Mhm.
So have you had challenges, you mentioned that the same thing happened to you in Riverdale. Have you had challenges securing proper space in manufacturing zones? Is that why you're ending up in commercial?
Yeah, it's Scott kind of mentioned this, but we're kind of in some in-between space. We're not really, I mean, you can define manufacturing a lot of different ways. So that's kind of the issue. Like, we're not a big manufacturer. The space that we want to be in, a big manufacturer couldn't be in. Like, it's just not possible. There's not enough space there. So what we are is like, yeah, light manufacturing is the terminology we're going with. So yeah, we can't go out to BDO and rent like a 50,000 square foot space because we couldn't do it. Like, we couldn't survive, and we don't need that much space. It doesn't make sense because it's not what we do. So that's why we're in smaller space. And it wasn't an issue with Riverdale. It was just like when we got a business license, we had to go through the process of explaining what we do. They were happy with it. And yeah.
And are there also like direct, so like customers walk into the store, and or is it mainly online?
Yeah, we'd be happy to accept customers coming into the store. Like I said, we've been shifting to that a lot more. So yeah, if there's somebody in the city that wanted to come, and that'd be great. A lot of the parts are big, so we'll prepare them to ship to them, but yeah.
And then speaking of the shipping, one of the concerns that can arise with manufacturing, is the shipping, the in and out of like large, like parts, pieces, trucks, trucks hauling those. So what does that look like? Like, what's the flow that would be expected in this commercial area now?
Way less than a grocery store. So we might have, we're gonna have delivery trucks in and out all the time, delivering small parcel packages like any.
FedEx are a big,
Yeah, so we'd have FedEx, UPS in all the time, but occasionally we will have like a freight truck that we're gonna be shipping out, So something loaded with
50
forklift.
footer or like a box truck.
It could be a full size like semi truck. It would depend on the carrier, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so something that would be loaded with forklift.
And then I think I read somewhere in your correspondence in this package that um, there was an analogy or a comparison to the businesses that were there in that space prior, that they would actually maybe be considered more of a manufacturing business than what you're
Absolutely.
proposing.
Pilkington Glass was there, Sure Can, the fertilizer group, and I don't remember the name, but there was a cabinet manufacturing business there
So
that
it's
was doing
kind of
actual.
similarly on par, or you would even be maybe
Yeah.
less of a
Yeah, I would say
manufacturer.
we're probably less than at least a couple of those for sure. So we weren't expecting like a problem to get a business license because that's what the space is set up for. That's what it's always been used for, as far as we're aware. And
I
it's
think it's like how the definitions are written in our code. So
Sure.
that's why we're kind of having a public hearing on this tonight.
yeah, and I know you guys are considering two things, our business and also like the code being changed. But in our case, if you're familiar with the space, it's behind what was Brilliant Lighting. So there is no frontage space at all. It's completely back behind. There's a big parking lot back there. I wouldn't imagine in our case shipping being an issue even with bigger trucks, but just on context of our particular situation.
And I'm gonna hit this really quick. Significant noise and vibration, is that conducive
we
to what you're
wouldn't-
doing?
Yeah, we wouldn't contribute significant noise. We have an air compressor. We use the silent type that are very quiet, way less quiet than most air compressors people have in their garage. Occasionally the use of an angle grinder. That's probably the loudest thing we talked about in the council meeting last time. Yeah, there's not a lot. Mostly a lot of riveting, electric forklift that doesn't make any noise. So yeah, noise wouldn't be a concern for us.
I'm not familiar with that space behind the building. Is it sort of a warehouse?
Mhm.
type of-
Yeah, big bay door and then just a one There's kind of like a small room, but it's mostly just one big warehouse
Behind brilliant lighting.
directly behind it.
Around the
So it's connected to the same building, but yeah. You have to go around completely to the back. So they had one facing like a bay door facing to the north, if I remember right. So you have to go all the way around to the back and it's east facing.
You can kind of see it in Google Maps. You can see it.
How long have you been in business? Like manufacturing world?
Yeah, we've in this world 5 years, 6 years, but not with this business. We've only been doing this for about 2 years.
Do you else have any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Because this is a public hearing, is there anybody in the audience here that would like to speak on this particular item? Okay. So,
I motion that we close the public hearing. Sorry, was that what you were doing?
well, I was just gonna see if there was anyone online, but.
Oh, sorry.
No raised hands.
Okay,
I motion that we close the public hearing.
I'll second that.
we have a motion and a second. So, all in favor? So, let's move on to the discussion.
Some questions first.
Yes, please, go.
Scott, can you hear me?
Yep.
In your definition for light manufacturing, you say that this includes the use of hand tools and 3D printing. Should we also modify that to be hand tools, small power tools? The applicant also mentioned they've got welding, drill press, riveting, air compressors. Should we add some things like that to the definition?
Probably. And the only reason that I am thinking about this, and maybe this is not a one and done planning commission, or maybe we just need to have like a brainstorm session. And if you're comfortable with it, we take it forward to city council. But, we have commercial uses that are using integrated refrigerated trucks that run on diesel fuel as part of their refrigeration units. And Kurt's drive-through does that. So I would imagine that the decibels that diesel generator running a refrigerated unit runs at are far exceeding the air compressor that they'll use here that will run the grinding equipment for the welding that they do on site. So it's this balance between, like he said, the number of deliveries is less than a grocery store, and honestly, probably fewer than many of the neighborhoods we're seeing Amazon trucks drive through now. So I think it's a balance between being too specific and not specific enough. But if we want to add things like power tools in addition to the hand tools, I feel good about that, because that does really differentiate from like someone doing light woodworking to someone running table saws and routers. But I worry about getting too specific.
To be more than just hand tools.
Right. Yeah. Yep. I think that's fair. And if you can help me craft that, if you can write it down and help me craft it in your recommendation to city council, that would be great, because I'm taking notes, but that's always very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, the point is well taken that even though we've heard this business and we can sort of picture this warehouse building behind brilliant lighting, that this would perhaps be an appropriate business. When we change the code for Southtown, we anticipate, further commercial development down there, and this new language would apply there. And so that's what we have to sort of keep in mind of what we would like to see this business succeed perhaps, but we have to say, is this appropriate for our Southtown development, which is probably the area that has the most potential for being developed commercially in the near future.
Time and time again, we've seen our kind of more prime commercial areas not end up the way we would like. So this does swing it into the zone of things happening that aren't sales tax generating maybe more frequently. And there is only, if you look at the general zoning map, we have tiny pockets of land left for commercial. So that's, if it was just this man and his business, I mean, that seems like a no brainer, but it's the whole zone. So
We have,
Yeah.
it's really what we're applying to
And
that whole entire region, which is probably where the development is going to happen in the next.
yeah, and I'm kind of anchoring my internalization of this on entirely within enclosed buildings, and goods may be finished or semi-finished for direct sale. I think those are in there to kind of protect those, that to protect the noise, and it more or less is stating that we want the goods to be finished for or semi-finished for direct sale. It isn't, yeah.
maybe and then strike the end of that sentence though that says or used as components in other products.
Yeah.
That doesn't get us anything.
Yeah, Scott, that was my question. And you brought up the three-legged financing plan for the city of property tax, sales tax, and franchise tax. Is it I like how the wording that you just shared, Commissioner Bailey. I wonder if that, and I like what you're suggesting too. I wonder if we can be a little bit more strong on that, emphasizing that sales tax element. Scott, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think that's fair to do. And also Ryan Nunn had asked on the American Planning Association Utah Chapters Forum a question about this light manufacturing, and he sent me the information over, and sorry I didn't get this included in the staff report, but other cities who have dealt with this same issue require an on-site sales something. You have to have a sales door, you have to have a front door to walk in and purchase goods on site. One of the last businesses that was located in this kind of behind brilliant lighting space, they sold really specific fertilizer mixes for specific types of plants, and we required a retail sales component. So that was part of their business, and it wasn't manufacturing. They were sort of like assembling different fertilizer grades. It was an interesting business to get through the process. And the space that they want to occupy is an awkward and hard space, I would imagine, to lease up. So while it does in some ways maybe like degrade the Southtown Center's ability to be retrofit into future commercial, on the other side, it allows the building owners to continue to be profitable or utilize a building and a structure that exists and provides property taxes for the city. But we could have a requirement in the light manufacturing, either the code or with this particular business or how we approve it, that it does have to have a sales tax component, whether it on-site sales or online retail sales or something else that is provable or showable or trackable. I think that would be a good addition.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So would that be in their application to have some financial information provided to determine that a little bit? Scott, maybe?
Yeah, and I think what we would do is we would amend the definition slightly. And let me get back up to it. That it would say goods may be finished or semi-finished for direct sale or used in components in other products. And then just we could add language like an on-site sales requirement, basically, so that the city, utilized as or incorporating a retail component or something along those lines, and just have one more short, brief sentence at the end of it.
Well, I kind of like that, but I know these smaller companies like this are going to be going, having more online sales.
Okay, so on-site or online sales required.
Yeah.
Because we do receive sale, we were really lucky that the state legislature changed the sales tax code prior to COVID, because I think that saved a lot of cities, but
yeah,
we do get our component of online sales at place of purchase, point of sale.
So we're not proud. We'll do whatever sales that generate us to generate sales tax. So
yeah,
so both, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
that's
just from my perspective, with my background, I would say an element of this sales tax generation is an important component to be evaluated.
And was there anything you would add to that, Commissioner, in terms of like language or words of what we're wanting here? Like, would they need a strategy presented? I don't know, like, is
Well,
there something?
I asked a question, what was their wholesale versus taxable or sales tax yeah. And I think in an application, maybe some history would be provided if it's a new company, maybe some projections on that. But I think emphasizing that element in our strategies, and my background here, I'm the finance guy and helping the city generate more sales tax. I think it's just good as a matter of protocol to keep that in mind, I guess.
And that would be part of the application.
Yeah, I would say so.
The information they get in the application.
Yeah.
So Scott, I know you alluded to it. Do we want to make a specific recommendation tonight on like tweaking this language, or do we just, recommend that the city council take a look at it with some concerns that we have? Because I think we could, adding in the power tools and adding the sentence on the end about requiring on-site sales or online sales or some direct retail component.
Well, they might appreciate to have something to. dig
Yeah,
their
that's
teeth
what I was
into and to
thinking,
look
rather than
at.
just like having them start from scratch.
I feel comfortable between, myself and Ryan and John in wordsmithing it. If you
Yeah.
want to just give us from Planning Commission, the recommendation in addition to these components of light manufacturing were, and then it's power tools in addition to hand tools, on-site, online, or direct sales requirement. I think the clarification of wholesale versus retail sale is compelling and interesting because wholesalers, as a purchaser of wholesale items, you don't pay sales tax on those. So if they are a wholesaler, that's an entirely different thing. So we would want a retail sales component in there. But because it is 8 o'clock and you've all been there for 2 hours, I don't know if it's up to you if you want to wordsmith it or give us the laundry list and then let us
He
revise
captured
it.
perfectly, just barely, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, I think we could wordsmith the language. There would only be one question I would have about the historical or projected like sales numbers to be included in the application? Or do we actually want to put that in the code language?
Well, that's interesting because you're sort of narrowing that down to businesses that have already established somewhere else. And,
Well, or projected.
oh,
if it's new
projected,
business.
okay.
I mean, I think even just a requirement of some sort of public storefront.
Yeah,
I think that's the big difference between
yeah.
manufacturing and commercial. And if light manufacturing is in between, maybe it's a hybrid. You can't have your fabrication warehouse, but there needs to be an open sign and a showroom or some way to come purchase.
To walk
That might
in.
be the simplest thing to get. Hey, you don't need to show receipts and everything. If you're going to invest in a space and have a business and have a showroom, that's the best we can do.
Because really our question is the code language on the definition of manufacturing light. I don't know if we want to muddy that with, but your sales, your retail versus wholesale has to be a certain percentage for us to
Yes.
approve that.
They're probably
I
gonna
mean,
make
it's
that a
sort of
thing.
like,
Yeah, like
It's kind of-
I did like an electrical
Fair.
like an electrical supplier, but it was mostly wholesale. And when we went through the city for the same process, part of the building has a direct to consumer. You can come in and buy those specialty electrical tools, the crimping tools, those types of thing. And and it was the exact same chart as this, just in a different town. And that was what made the difference.
So I just comment that the world is going to online sales, so,
We get sales tax from online.
yeah,
It
we
can
do,
either-
so,
Either or combo.
yeah,
Do you-
yeah.
do you think it would be okay just to add the sentence at the end? Require an on-site or online sales or direct retail component?
Yes.
Do we need storefront? Do we need wholesale versus retail or any of that? Okay. On-site
Inside
or online?
Yeah, that fits.
Do we want to require on-site?
No.
Okay.
I wouldn't think so either, given the world.
No, and there are some very profitable businesses for cities that are doing massive online sales. So,
Right,
I mean,
right.
yeah, that doesn't matter.
Okay, so let me repeat that. Require on-site or online sales or a direct retail component. Okay, and that would be just added to the end. The only other thing, Scott, or I guess we should make a motion, but I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion, then I know I probably shouldn't make all the motions tonight. Unless somebody else wants to give it a go here.
Yeah, sure. So does anyone else though? Cause I did one tonight too. Anyone feeling sluggish? Okay. So essentially, our recommendation for city council is that this manufacturing light definition is altered to have an addition of power tools. And then a sentence that specifies that there must be an on-site retail direct-to-consumer component or online direct-to-consumer sales. There we go.
Yep.
So anything else?
Yep.
That sound okay? Okay.
So we have a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, let's go ahead and take a vote. So Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Gardner,
Yes.
Commissioner Neighbor,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Who seconded the motion?
That would be.
Commissioner Gardner.
Gardner, thank you.
Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn.
It's about that.
Yeah, we got just a couple of things. Are there any, public comments for anything we didn't cover on the agenda tonight? That anybody would like to, 'cause I know we do have one guest we haven't heard from. And, okay, let's go ahead and move on. Any other remarks from planning commissioners?
I do have a remark. I just, more of a agenda driving, I guess, point. And Scott and Ryan, this is really for you guys / of course us. But I'm really just interested. I don't want to lose sight on some of our larger goals we'd like to achieve as the planning commission. Specifically, like it'd be really fascinating if there's anything we can do to assist that. Wasatch Choice Vision, if you remember, they had those awesome pockets of land that we have 2 distinct pockets in the city that were identified as really wonderful neighborhood cluster potential. So that would require some different zoning. And so I would just love to see whatever we need to do to maybe start doing some work on that. I know you guys are busy, so by all means. And then the second thing is just if there's any update on the public work standards on Fruitland Drive, Scott, or anything that I can do to assist anything with that, as that's more of an inquiry on that one.
Yeah, so Eric had produced a cost estimate for what it would be to survey the entirety of Fruitland Drive, so we understood the right-of-way width and the impacts there. And I don't know where that, and then it was like the budget shuffle, right? So I don't know, I'll have to follow back up with Eric Casperson on whether or not that ended up in the 25-26 budget for him to consider. So I'll find out and I'll follow back up with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And then I think just a third thing for a potential agenda, it's not necessarily time, sensitive, but the storage containers code really does probably need to be peeked at. It's, if you read it, it's very restrictive, which maybe we want it that way, but perhaps not in light of some recent events. So anyway, that's just a list item. And again, I know you guys are so busy. So if there's anything we can do either here or other grunt work for you, please let us know.
Compliment to Ryan tonight too.
Yeah.
He had some tough,
Great job.
tough agenda items tonight.
Appreciate that.
I had one question.
For letting us.
Scott, I had a question whether the fall conference for the APA, whether planning commissioners can go to that?
We have because of this budget cycle, we have a limited budget for travel. So we may be able to extend that to one or maybe 2, but the fall conference, let me see. I'm thinking in my head. Fall conference is usually down in the south and spring conference is up north. So whichever is the closer conference of the 2 would be the one that we could likely afford to pay for 1 or 2 planning commission members to attend. The budget has just been, we have a final operating budget and we started that 16 days ago. So I know approximately where it's at, but I don't know exactly as I look back through everything. But we'll keep you posted or invite if we can, one or two, and maybe we cycle through the PC members.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other remarks by planning commissioners? Scott, do you have any report from community and economic development?
Nope, I am good for the night. Thank you for letting me present remotely.
Oh, yeah, thanks for all your remarks. City manager, city attorney?
Nothing exciting today.
Great job on all the Cherry Days events. Everything was great. Yeah, thanks for everybody.
That was a fun time.
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.